Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me. My name is Lauren. I will be guiding you through a slow flow yoga practice. We're going to do a lot of balance poses, and the intention there is to strengthen not only our legs, but we'll also focus on strengthening our core. Most balance poses, while they do certainly work your legs if it's a standing balance pose, your core has to really turn on as well. So we're going to focus on balancing and strengthening your core. So for this practice, you don't need anything. I always have 2 blocks with me, and then I also am going to place a towel under the back of my head. We are going to start on our backs. So if you have a towel or something you want to use to support your head, you're welcome to. Remember that a block is too much height, especially since it's so firm. So a towel, blanket, or actually a pillow, that's fine as long as it's smaller and not quite as dense. So again, we'll start on our backs. And we'll be here on our backs for a while, so you might have your knees bent, you might lengthen your legs, whatever feels best for you and your body. Always remember that as we're going through any practice that you do, everything should be comfortable. Some of the things that we'll do in this practice should take work and should take effort. I want you to feel like you are working your core and strengthening your legs, but everything that takes work does not create any pain. So that's really important. Okay, so position your body in a way that feels good. I like constructive resting pose with my feet wide at the edges of the mat and the knees knocked in. This feels really good in my lower back, especially in the morning. But again, you're welcome to have your legs extended. And then maybe just rest your arms about a foot away from the body with the palms up. If it's comfortable, let your eyes softly close. And just let your body relax. Let your body soften. Letting everything about this moment be easy. Your body, your breath, your mind, everything slows down a little bit so you feel at ease. Now continue to let your body relax. Letting the back side of the body feel heavy on the support beneath it. And maintaining a relaxed, easy breath, we'll just start to notice the breath a little bit more. And we'll notice it by placing the left hand over the chest, by the heart, by the collarbones, and the right hand over the low belly, below your belly button. Now it's okay if your hands are off-centered, let your elbows rest on the ground. So if hands are off-centered, or if it's more on your shoulder and your hip, that's okay. We want the arms really relaxed, so just let the palms rest wherever they find themselves. But again, left hand closer to the heart, right hand closer to the low belly, below the belly button. And notice your breath. Notice your breath as if it was a tangible thing that you could hold in your hands. Notice your breath as if it's something you could grasp, something you could see. And notice where it goes. Does it go into your chest? Does it go into your belly? So notice as you breathe naturally, which hand can feel the breath beneath it. Again, imagining your breath as a tangible thing that you could hold in your hand. Do you feel it in your left hand, your right hand, neither or both? most of us, especially when we are upright, when we're seated, when we're standing, we breathe into the chest, we breathe into the left hand. And those breaths are very short and shallow breaths, only using the upper part of the lungs. And it's not wrong, it's not bad, but let's move into some deeper breathing, using our full lung capacity. So as you breathe in, send your breath down to your right hand. As you breathe in, allow the breath to pass all the way down to the bottom of the lungs, filling your right hand so that your right hand rises and falls with the flow of the breath. This is called belly breathing. It's exactly what it sounds like. Breathe into your low belly, below the belly button, below the waistband of your pants. Send your breath all the way down. And you'll notice on the inhalation, the low belly will rise, the rib cage will expand outward. You will expand in 360 degrees all around. And then as you exhale, bring everything back to the center, back to the spine. So continue with belly breathing for 3 more breaths. And at the end of that 3rd breath, you can return back to your natural breath. And just allow your arms to rest again alongside your body, palms facing up. Notice how you feel. Belly breathing is said to be a calming technique for your body and for your mind. And so if you find that it does have that calming, quieting effect on you, this is a good practice to remember, to come back to. Even when you're out in public, when you're home, when you're at work, wherever you need a few calming moments, you can always come back to belly breathing. Keeping your focus inside, present, internal, mindful. If it feels right for you, you're welcome to set an intention for your practice. Asking yourself what brought you to your mat. The answer might be a physical quality. It might be mental, emotional, energetic, or spiritual. There's no right or wrong answer. Just make sure your intention is a positive word or phrase. And give yourself a few moments to slowly repeat that word or phrase to allow it to settle in your heart. Slowly bring some soft movement into your body. Maybe rock your head side to side. Wiggle fingers and toes, move arms and legs. Take a few breaths to move in any way that feels good for you. Remember that you are always in control of your body. So think of what I'm saying, or any teacher for that matter. Think of what the teacher is saying as suggestions. You can do them or skip them, modify, sit something out, whatever you need, because everything, again, should be comfortable in your body. And your body is different from anyone else's. So really customize your practice for your body. Okay, one more breath.
And we'll meet with the knees bent and the feet flat. Feet can either be together or hip distance, whatever feels best for you. We'll let the arms come out again with the palms facing up. Now we'll just let the knees sway from side to side here, and we'll stay for a while. So just allowing the legs to rock right to left and sway back and forth at a comfortable pace. So we're moving through a slow flow practice here. So flow implies that we'll be moving with the breath and be again working in some poses that take work, but slow flow implies that you should be moving at the pace of your breath, if not slower. You're always able to be in control of your breath. You're not holding the breath. Your breath isn't stuttering or choppy or interrupted. So keep that in mind. Movements are smooth and fluid. Your breath is smooth and fluid. Now here we want to warm up the spine, because to engage our abs, our spine needs to be warmed up. The spine and all the muscles in the torso. So let's do this one more time each side. Okay, and then slowly return back to the center. So that movement should have taken very little work. Should have been very easy. Now here, I want you to start working a little bit. So we're gonna start with what is often called a pelvic tilt. For those of you familiar with cat and cow, we're basically doing cat and cow on our backs. So feet flat, knees bent, eye like feet and knees hip distance apart. Now it's a small movement here, but as you inhale, I'll move my arm out of the way. As you inhale, lift your ribs up towards the ceiling. There should be a big space between your back and the mat. Like I can even make a fist under my back. Okay, so you're in a bit of a back bend. And then as you exhale, drop your ribs down, really push your ribs into the floor, create a wrinkle in the front of your shirt by your belly button. There should be no space between your back and the floor. You shouldn't even be able to slide a piece of paper here. Here's when you should feel your abs turning on. This is your tucking your pelvis, tilting your pelvis back. So inhale, tilt the pelvis forward. Belly button points towards the thighs, ribs to the sky, big space here between your back and the floor. But as you exhale, push the ribs down, create the wrinkle by your belly button, feel your abs contract, your belly button points towards your face. We're gonna do this a few more times at the pace of the breath. Inhale, let the ribs lift up, create the space. Exhale, draw the ribs down, create the wrinkle, feel your abs engage. Let's do 3 more. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower, pushing down, contract your abs. 2 more, inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. 1 more, inhale, rise. And exhale, draw down, really push the low back down, the ribs down, contract your abs, feel the work, create the wrinkle, and then relax. So you end up somewhere in between. So there is some space here, but I certainly could not make a fist between my lower back and the floor. It's just my fingers, truly just my fingers, not even my palm can reach. Okay, now we're gonna add on to that movement. So when we push the ribs down and we tuck the tailbone, belly button towards the face, create the wrinkle, abs should contract here. So we're gonna add on to that. So arms can come alongside your body or out in opposite directions, but we want palms down because we're going to be working. Palms up means we're resting, palms down means we're working. So inhale, let the ribs lift, create that space, and then exhale, draw the ribs down. Now you're gonna keep the ribs down, but keep breathing. So we're keeping the movement still, but the breath is still fluid. Okay, so ribs are down, spine is down, there's no space between your lower back and the floor. You're creating a wrinkle at the front of your shirt by your belly button. This is tucking your tailbone. Okay, now from here, you relax your shoulders, you relax your arms, but abs should be feeling like they're working. Now with the right leg only, you're gonna keep the right knee bent, lift the right foot off the ground, like you're resting your right heel on a coffee table. Right knee is still bent. and then slowly let that foot come down. Keep the ribs down. Lift the left leg up like you're resting your left heel on a coffee table. Ribs need to stay down here. The higher the foot lifts, the more the ribs want to lift. Don't let them. Let the left foot come back down. So we're going to do that 2 more times. Push the ribs down. Right leg lifts. Make sure that the left foot is fairly relaxed. The lift does not come from pushing the left foot down. Okay, and then lower the right foot. Keep pushing ribs down into the floor. Lift the left foot. Try to relax the right foot. So it's not like bridge. We're not pushing the feet down. We're pushing the abs down. And then lower that leg down. We're going to do 1 more. Ribs down, spine down. Lift the right leg. Right knee bent. Shin parallel to the floor like an equal sign. Lower it down. Left leg lifts. Let the heel float up off the ground like it's resting on a coffee table. Ribs down, spine down, knee bent, right foot relaxed, and then slowly lower that down. And then you can tuck and untuck your pelvis, come back to that pelvic tilt, almost like that reclined cat and cow. Okay, now we're going to add on to that again. So if you felt like that was enough of a challenge, you felt your abs working, you really thought, wow, that's working hard, I haven't worked that muscle that way in a while, maybe you just stay there. And that's fine. So you can absolutely just stay with those toe taps, 1 foot on the ground, 1 foot lifted. Or, again, inhale, lift your ribs up, create the space. Exhale, draw the ribs down. Push ribs down, push low belly down, low back down. Tip your pelvis so your belly button points towards your face. You create the wrinkle. I know I'm sounding repetitive, but this is so important because if this is not happening, you're really putting your low back in a vulnerable spot, which is the last thing we want to do. So ribs down. I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but ribs down, low belly down, create that wrinkle in the front of your shirt. Now, we're going to lift the right leg up, let it hold, lift the left leg up. Let it hold. Ribs down. Now that you've got both feet up, your ribs are going to want to lift. Don't let them. That's going to be harmful to your lower back, potentially. Okay, now keep the left leg there. Right leg, the heel is going to lower. Tap the ground. Bring it back up. We're going to switch. Keep the right leg still. Left leg, let it lower. Keep the ribs down. Lift it up. 3 more each side. Ribs push down. Keep that wrinkle by your belly button. Keep your knees bent more or less at a right angle, shins parallel to the floor. 2 more each side. Push the ribs down. Keep contracting your abs. Imagine that your legs are floating, but your abs are working. 1 more each side. Keep drawing down. No space between your lower back and the floor. Contract your abs. Once you come back to the top, slowly release the right foot all the way down and the left foot all the way down. Good. So again, you should have felt your abs working hard. So you can take a few moments to move. We are going to come back to that later in a different way. So all of these, every time we come back to this, we're building. So know that you can always just come back to that first one where 1 foot stays on the ground and you lift and lower. That's perfectly fine. Okay, so from here, inhale, exhale, hug your knees into your chest. You might rock side to side 1 more time. And then in a moment, we will come up to a seat. You can push to the side and push yourself up or rock through to the center. Okay, and we are going to be seated for a little bit. So I like to sit on a blanket. I like to sit on a block. But if you don't have a block, that's okay. I do like students to sit on something when they are sitting here, but if you don't have anything handy, that's okay. Just take a comfortable seated position. It most likely will not be this one. That's okay. So we're just going to stretch the neck a little bit because sometimes when we do ab exercises, our neck starts to chime in, and that's very normal, myself included. I know at the end of a workout, my neck starts to feel it more than my abs do. In that exercise, that hopefully should not have happened, but we just want to loosen these spaces up. So sit up tall, relax your shoulders, relax your arms, and let your right ear fall down towards your right shoulder.
The tip of your nose is still pointing straight forward, whatever direction that is, whether that's towards me or whatever, but the tip of your nose is still pointing straight forward. Notice the stretch that you're feeling in the left side of the neck, and maybe even in the top of the shoulder. Stay for a breath. And then keeping your right ear towards your right shoulder, now just turn so you're looking down towards your right hip flexor, or the right quad, the top of the right thigh, or the right side of your lap. So now you've sort of dropped your chin towards your armpit or towards your right collarbone. And you'll notice that the stretch has now moved back a little bit. It's sort of shifted a little bit closer to the back of the neck. Stay for a breath. And then slowly return so that the tip of your nose points straight forward again. And then inhale, return the head all the way back to the center. Take a breath here. Let the left ear fall down towards the left shoulder. The tip of your nose is still pointing straight forward here. We're going to stay here for a few moments. So you are sitting up tall, lifting your chest, lengthening the rest of the spine as the neck just falls heavy. Shoulders stay relaxed away from the ears. Notice where you feel the stretch. Really articulate and pinpoint that stretch and that lengthening. Take a breath. And then draw your chin down towards your chest, down towards your armpit, your collarbone. You're now looking down towards your left thigh, your left hip, the left side of your lap. And you'll feel the stretch in a little bit of a different spot. Not drastically different, it just sort of shifted over maybe an inch or so. Notice that feeling. Maybe one space is much more tight than the other. Just notice these things about your body. Stay for another breath. And then slowly return your head back so that your nose points forward, back where we came from. And then inhale, return the head all the way back to neutral, to the center. Take a deep breath. Okay, now keeping the head and the neck still, roll your shoulders. So make really large circles here in your shoulders. Do about 2 or 3 more. And then reverse the direction of the circle. 2 or 3 more. Okay, and then let your shoulders relax. All right, we are gonna come into tabletop. On all fours, on our hands and knees. If you've got blocks, bring them to the top. If you want a pad under your knees, you're welcome to do that. We're gonna be kneeling for a little bit. But set yourself up in tabletop. So we already did move the spine a little bit, but let's move it even just a little bit more. When we were in those reclined cat and cows, the movement was pretty small because of the floor. So let's do a little bit more here. So as you inhale, drop your belly towards the floor. Lift your chest, lift your heart, look forward. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, the ribs reach to the sky. Draw your chin to your chest, look towards your belly button. Inhale as you drop your belly. Drop your ribs, but lift your chest, lift your heart, look forward. Make sure you're looking forward, not at the ceiling. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, ribs up, chin to the chest, cat pose. Inhale, drop the belly, cow pose. Do about 2 or 3 more just like this, moving through a much larger range of motion than we could when we were on the floor. Again, because the floor really was in the way, especially for that cat pose. Now throughout this, you're feeling a comfortable stretch through the front and the back of your torso and your spine. After your next cat pose, raising the back up, slowly return back to neutral. Okay, so now we're gonna engage again. Now, the longer that we're here, the more you'll be tempted to drop the belly and coming to sort of this cow pose, which is not what we want. So just like before, if you can imagine when we were back on the floor, I said that there should not be a space between your lower back and the floor to engage your abs when you're on the mat. When you're on your back on the mat. Now, it's the same thing here. There shouldn't, imagine that you've got that tactile feedback of something behind you. We want the spine in neutral. So we're not looking for a cat pose either. When we were on our back, we couldn't do this shape either. We want everything more long and in neutral. So here, more or less, I don't have a mirror in front of me, but this feels right. I don't know what it looks like, but it feels about right. So your abs are working. You're tucking your tailbone. You're creating a wrinkle in the front of your shirt by your belly button. Again, it's not cat pose, but an engaged abs with a long neutral spine. Okay, so that's important. The longer we're here, the more you've really got to focus on it. So you're going to look at the tip of your right thumb. Look at the tip of your right thumb. It's going to keep your neck in neutral, and it's going to help you balance. And you'll reach your left fingertips forward, left thumb to the sky. Now you're more than welcome to stay here or lengthen your right leg back. Maybe keep the right toes on the ground, or maybe let the right leg lift. Now, the higher the leg lifts, the more your belly will want to drop down. So it's not about how high can you lift the leg, it's how high can you lift the leg while maintaining the activation in your core. This is the most important part of this exercise, of this pose. How high the leg lifts, how high the arm lifts is entirely secondary. Maybe it's not even the second most important, but it is definitely not the primary purpose. So we want to make sure that the abs are engaged, tuck the tailbone, create that wrinkle, push your right hand down to lift up and out of your right armpit, and lengthen, left fingertips forward, right heel back. Be long. Stay for one more breath. Inhale, exhale, return the hand and the knee back down. Okay, we'll switch sides. So again, setting up, hands under shoulders. Now you're gonna look at the tip of your left thumb, reach your right fingertips forward, draw your left leg back. Maybe the toes hover over the ground or rest, or maybe you lift. But again, the higher they lift, the more your abs will sort of release. So it's not about how high they lift. So draw the ribs in, tuck the tailbone, create the wrinkle. You might not feel your abs in the same capacity you did when you were on your back. That's okay. Now, we want to make sure you're pushing down into the left hand. Keep looking at the tip of your left thumb. It's going to keep the neck in neutral and help you balance. You reach right fingertips forward, left heel back. Draw the heart up, tuck the tailbone, engage, take a breath. Inhale, exhale, slowly return the hand and the knee. Give yourself a few moments, maybe roll out the wrists, take a child's pose. Okay, all right. So if you were kneeling on something under your knees, you're patting your knees, I would remove that. It's probably going to start to get in the way. But we will come back to this tabletop. Okay, so from tabletop, spread the fingers wide, middle fingers forward. The creases of your elbows point forward. So oftentimes we would tend to turn them in, or like they almost point towards the opposite thigh or knee. We want them to face forward. That's true in down dog, plank, tabletop, a lot of poses. Creases of the elbows forward. If you're new to yoga, this is not necessarily your first priority, but if you've been practicing, I want you to start thinking about this. So it's something I still focus on too. I struggle with this as well. It takes a while. All right, so push the hands down, lift the chest, look to the space between your thumbs, keep the neck in neutral, and lengthen your legs back into a plank position. Anytime we come to plank, you're welcome to drop to your knees and keep the body still long. So it's not a tabletop. Your hips should not be creased. Your hip flexors should be long. There should be no wrinkle here in the front of your hip. So whether you're in a modified plank or a plank, take a breath. Inhale, exhale, downward facing dog. Now when we transition from plank to down dog, you might walk your feet forward an inch or two, but anything more than that, you lose the integrity of the pose. So we want the spine to be long. Your priority in downward facing dog is to lengthen your spine, not your legs. So if your heels don't touch the ground, that's good. Take a breath.
Now one more time, inhale, shift forward into plank pose. Now moving between these two poses should be pretty seamless. If you find that you've got to walk your feet forward or back, you've got to change the stance in your down dog. You should be able to move seamlessly from one to the next. It takes work and it's tough, but hands and feet in the same spot. Inhale, exhale, downward facing dog. Take a full breath here. Okay. Now deeply bend the knees. Inhale, look forward to the space between your thumbs. Exhale, travel forward. Walk or step forward into forward fold Uttanasana. Feet are hip distance apart. Hip distance is about a fist and a half between the big toes. So about hip distance apart. I like to have a soft bend in my knees, and I encourage students to have a soft bend in the knees the first few forward folds, but you know your body better than anyone. But let your upper body surrender to gravity. Let it just hang and stay for a breath. Uttanasana. Now firmly push the heels into the floor. Inhale, lift up halfway. Let's hold it here. So we want to rest the fingertips at the very least on something. So they might come to blocks, maybe the shins, maybe the thighs, but just not the knees. And your fingertips are resting on something so that you can lengthen your spine. We're not looking for cow or cat here. We want back to that long neutral spine. Create a wrinkle in the front of your shirt by your belly button. Take a breath with a long spine. Now push the heels firmly into the ground. Inhale, rise up. Fingertips to the sky. Maybe add a bit of a back bend. And then bring the hands through to the heart. Take a deep breath. Okay. We'll move through some sun salutations here. So inhale, circle the arms up. Exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step the right foot back. So you might grab onto blocks if you've got them, but if you don't, just let your hands rest on maybe the ground or if you've got something beside you. But we want to be able to push the hands down to lift the chest, lift up and out of the armpits. And the torso and the thigh can be touching, but they shouldn't be resting. The torso should not be resting on the thigh. Okay. Now you're drawing your right heel back towards the wall behind you. You're drawing your left shin forward towards the wall in front of you, but you squeeze your inner thighs in to activate the inner leg line. In these balance poses, we're going to be focusing on the outer part of the hip, but strengthen the inner part too. We need the balance. Take a breath. Inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take your time to step back, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Spread your fingers as wide as they'll go. Now this transition should be seamless. Inhale, shift forward, plank pose. If you found that you needed to walk your feet back, you've got to walk your feet back in down dog as well. Okay, push down, lift up and out of the armpits. Creases of the elbows forward. Keep up the length, the strength, and the power of this pose. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, slowly lower all the way down. The hope is that your whole body touches the ground at the same time. Now from here, bring your arms alongside your body, palms face in. Push the tops of your feet down. Push your hips down. Lift your chest, your shoulders, your arms, and your hands. Keep the back of your neck long. Look down at your mat. Now, keep pushing your hips down to lift your chest. Draw your shoulders down and back away from your ears. Reach fingertips back like you're reaching for the wall behind you. Take a breath. Inhale, lower the hands under the shoulders. Exhale, downward facing dog. Passing through either tabletop or plank, your choice, one of which is obviously harder than the other. Now from downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana, slowly pick up the right foot, reach the right heel back towards the wall behind you. Keep the hips level and square. Inhale, Exhale, draw the right knee forward towards your belly button. Draw it all the way forward. Shift forward, you're in a one leg plank, and then quietly place your right foot down. Now hands can come back to blocks. We're back in the runner's lunge. All right, so hands are pushing on something so that you can lift up and out of your armpits and that your torso is not resting on your thigh. So left heel back, right shin forward, but inner thighs in. Now that movement is so small. I did it. Here, I'm not doing it. Here, I'm doing it. It's really small. It's activating the inner leg line, like the inner seams of your pants. Contract them, draw them closer together. Inhale, exhale, step forward. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Push the heels down, inhale, rise. Fingertips to the sky. Maybe add the back bend. We're gonna do it again. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step the left foot back, all the way back. Left heel back, right shin forward, inner thighs in. Activate and strengthen, again, the inner leg line, your hip adductors. Inhale, exhale, downward facing dog. Taking your time, setting yourself up, because the hope is that when we come to plank, you don't have to move very much. So spread your fingers, push your hands down, inhale, shift forward, plank pose. Hands are pushing into the floor, fingers are spreading wide. You push fingertips into the floor, you tuck your tailbone, create a wrinkle in the front of your shirt by your belly button. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, slowly lower. Arms alongside the body, palms in. Push tops of the feet down, push hips down, lift your chest, lift your shoulders, your arms, and your hands. Reach your fingertips back, draw your palms a little closer together, maybe even interlace your fingers, reach the knuckles back, Yoga Mudra, but lengthen through the back of the neck, looking down at your mat. Work your lower back, protect your neck. Take a breath, Shalabhasana. Now slowly release the hands. Inhale, hands under shoulders. Exhale, downward facing dog. Okay. Now very slowly, pick up the left foot, reach the left heel back, keep the hips level and square to the floor. Inhale. Exhale, draw the left knee forward towards your chest, towards your belly, towards your chin. Shift forward and then quietly place the foot down. If you've got to pull or push the foot, that's okay, but we don't want to hear it stomp the ground. Okay, so maybe you grab onto these blocks and you take a runner's lunge one more time. So pushing the left heel into the floor and the left shin forward, the right heel back, but the inner thighs in. Inhale, exhale, step forward. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Push the heels down. Inhale, lift up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Push the heels down. Inhale, rise. Maybe add that back bend. Bring your hands to your heart and take a deep breath. All right, so we are gonna really start to focus on the legs here. So for this pose, let's bring the feet together. Big toes will touch. There's a little sliver of space between your heels. The outside edges of your feet, the pinky toe sides, look like the number 11. Okay, weight is back in the heels. You can wiggle your toes. Inhale, reach fingertips up. Exhale, sink the hips down and back, Utkatasana. Now you can keep reaching your arms up overhead, but I don't like talking into my arms, so I'm gonna bring my hands to my heart. Okay, so keep drawing down towards the floor and back, like you're reaching your sit bones towards the back edge of your mat. We want lower for the quads and back to protect the knees. So quads should be working, knees should feel okay, not too much stress there. And you also should not feel this in your calves. If you feel it in the calves or the knees, you've got to draw it back. But we want to protect the spine. So again, we're not creating that space.
Draw the ribs in, lengthen the spine. Take a deep breath, engaging through the quads. Inhale, exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Push the heels down. Inhale, rise. Maybe add that back bend. Bring the hands to the heart. Take a deep breath. Okay. Now we're going to move through several balance poses in a row. So we'll move through several in a row, and then the last one is a lunge. So I'm going to stay facing this way. It might be kind of tough to see, but when I step back, I want to still be able to step back. You might do the same. You might come to a wall for some of these poses, but then just, again, have some space behind you because we'll be coming to a lunge. Okay, so shift the weight back into the heels, and shift your weight into, let's say, the left foot. So shift your weight into the left foot. We're going to come to tree pose. So let's do it step by step. Drop the tip of the right big toe onto the floor and the right ankle above the heel, or sorry, the heel above the ankle. So it looks something like this. And so you're creating this kickstand. Now, when we're in these poses, you will be, again, tempted to let your belly come forward and create this space here. We want to tuck the tailbone, draw the ribs in, create that wrinkle in the front of your shirt. Okay, so here's where your core will be engaged to help you balance through these poses. Now, look at a spot, at a fixed spot, something that won't move, that will help you balance. And then maybe you slide your foot up so it comes under the knee. Maybe it comes above the knee, but it does not come on, either above or below. Okay, so keep pushing the left heel into the ground. You can wiggle your left toes. If your right heel comes all the way up, really bring it all the way up and push your heel into your thigh and your thigh into your heel to create activation, but then also to stimulate a cluster of lymph nodes that are there. So the lymph nodes help our immune system, so get those working. So lengthen up through the crown of the head. Make sure you're tucking the tailbone. Create that wrinkle. Relax the shoulders. Stay for a deep breath. Okay, now you're going to bring your left hand to your left hip. Your right hand will grab onto your right leg somehow. So you'll either grab onto the back of the thigh or the shin, but let the right foot come off the left leg. So you're, again, either holding the back of the thigh or the shin, or if your hamstrings are really open, Hasta Padangusthasana. Take your first two fingers, wrap it around the big toe, and lengthen the leg away from you. So drawing it out to the side. Now that takes a lot of work and takes a lot of openness in the hamstrings. So that might not be for you. You're welcome to keep the hand on the shin or the back of the thigh. But we do want to open the hip. So can you draw your right leg over to the right more, but keep the hips and the belly button pointing forward. Now, if the right leg is long, you might lengthen the left arm to the left to counter it. But stay for one more breath, Hasta Padangusthasana 2. Now we're just going to close the hips. So move the right leg so that it comes forward. So whether you're holding on to the back of the thigh, the shin, or the toes, the legs are now more even and square forward. So the hips are no longer open. This is Hasta Padangusthasana 1. Keep pushing the left heel down. Stand up tall. You should feel your left outer hip, your outer glute muscle, your glute med working hard. That's what we want. Stay for one more deep breath in Hasta Padangusthasana 1. Okay, now keep the right leg where it is, however you've got it, or actually bend it if it's long. Bring both hands to both hips. You're in a one-leg Tadasana. Inhale, exhale, warrior 3. Look down at the floor at a spot, something that won't move. Reach the right heel back, the crown of the head forward. So your side profile looks like a capital T. Now, keep your hips level. Your right hip is going to want to open. Point your belly button down at your left big toe. Belly button points at the left big toe.
Speaking of toes, you can wiggle your left toes. Make sure that the weight of your body is in your heel. Stay for one more deep breath. Deeply bend the left knee. Let the right foot touch down. Now you're in a crescent lunge. Okay, that was it. That was it for that side. So you're in a crescent lunge. Each foot is in its own lane of traffic. Left shin forward, right heel back, inner thighs in, and inhale, reach fingertips to the sky. Let the shoulders relax away from the ears. So sometimes crescent lunge is a back bend, but let's engage. Tuck the tailbone, create the wrinkle. That might mean that the right knee bends. That's okay. Take a breath. Inhale, exhale, plant the hands, step back, downward facing dog. Now you've got 3 to 5 breaths before we do all of that on the second side. So you're welcome to stay here, take a rest in a child pose. If you want more work, take a vinyasa, but keep breathing. We'll all meet in downward facing dog. From down dog, deeply bend the knees. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, travel forward. Walk, step, or jump, forward fold Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Push the heels down. Inhale, rise. Maybe add that back bend at the top, Urdhva Hastasana. Bring the hands to the heart. Take a deep breath in Tadasana. Okay. I am going to move so I'm facing this way now, but you can stay right where you're at. Now this first pose, we're going to do all of this again starting with chair pose. So I'll start here. So feet closer together, big toes to touch, space between the heels. You can wiggle your toes. Weight is back in the heels. Inhale, circle arms up. Exhale, sink hips down and back. Now you keep your arms up. I just don't want to be talking into my arm. So your seat is towards the floor and back. Quads are working. Knees and calves are not. If that's the case, you've got to draw it back. All right. Spine is long. You're not in a back bend or a forward bend. Neutralize it out here. Now, keeping all of that as it is, you could stay or shift your weight into your toes, lift your heels up off the ground. Come to a balancing chair pose. So heels lift up, seat draws down. Just because the heels come up doesn't mean the seat lifts. So reach the heels to the sky, the seat towards the floor. Stay strong. One more breath. Inhale, lower the heels. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise. Push the heels down. You can wiggle the toes and come back to Tadasana. Take a deep breath. Okay, now we're going to go through that longer series. You might want to spot by the wall, whatever you need. Okay, so we're going to start in tree. So shift your weight into your right. Create a kickstand with your left. So again, option 1 is just to stay here. Big toe on the ground, heel above the ankle. Hips forward, knee to the side. You could stay here. You could slide your foot up so it comes under your knee. You could slide it up so it comes above your knee. Look at something that's not moving. And then maybe if it comes all the way up, bring it all the way up. Heel into thigh, thigh into heel. Stimulate those lymph nodes and engage your muscles. Now, any one of these, you'll be tempted to draw the ribs forward. That happens, by the way, because of tight hip flexors. Tight hip flexors pull the pelvis forward, which creates the ribs to come forward. And especially if we choose to bring the arms up overhead, tight shoulders and chest pull the ribs forward. So really watch. You've sort of got a lot of factors against you. So you've really got to draw it in. Okay, lengthen up through the crown of the head.
But relax the arms, place your arms wherever you'd like. Look at a fixed spot, something that won't move. Take a breath, Vrikshasana, tree pose. Okay, now your right hand will come to your right hip. Your left hand will grab onto your left leg. So maybe that means grabbing onto the back of the thigh. The left foot will no longer be resting on the right leg. Maybe the hand comes to the shin. Maybe the first two fingers wrap around the big toe. Hasta Pada Gustasana 2, reaching the heel away. Now, again, that takes a lot of not only work, but hamstring flexibility. It might not be your pose, and that's okay. And that's an example of just because you can do it doesn't mean you have to. In my body, I can do that pose, but it doesn't really feel very good. So just because you can take an option or a variation of something does not mean that's what you have to do. Okay, look at a fixed spot. Lift up through the crown of the head. Relax the shoulders, but keep opening the left hip to the left. Hips forward. Take a breath. And then close the hips so that you've still got the leg in the same position. It's just now that toes are forward or knees are forward, you're a lot more narrow here. Whether that means foot is forward in Hasta Pada Gustasana or the knee is bent. But take one more breath. Now, bend your left knee if it's not already bent. Bring each hand to the hips. Look down at the floor at a fixed spot. Last balance pose, warrior 3. Tip your pelvis forward and your torso forward so that you can lower your chest so your chest becomes parallel to the floor. Lengthen the left leg back. Even out your hips. Make sure that the left hip isn't hiking up. Your belly button should point at your right big toe. Belly button points at the right big toe on the floor. Keep reaching, crown of the head forward, left heel back. Take a breath, warrior 1. Draw the ribs in, create that wrinkle. And then deeply bend the right knee, let the left foot touch down, crescent lunge. So just pause for a moment, because that was a lot. So just checking in. Feet are hip distance. Each foot is in its own lane of traffic. You're drawing the right heel down, right shin forward, left heel back. Now, you might feel a comfortable stretch. Like for me, I feel a comfortable stretch in my hip flexor. So I might stay here. But you also could bend the knee to really come back to a neutral spine. Because again, hip flexors are tight. It's going to want to pull everything forward. Either way, inhale, fingertips to the sky. So you can keep the back leg straight as long as you are conscious about drawing the belly in. And then you'll feel probably even more of a stretch. I know I'm feeling quite a bit of a stretch here. Take a breath, crescent lunge. Inhale, exhale, downward facing dog. Plant the hands, step back, down dog. 3 to 5 breaths before we keep moving. So you're welcome to take any movement you like. So notice that even though the left leg was the one that was moving, the right leg is the leg that got fatigued. And again, especially in the outer part in your glute med, that's good. You might have also felt it other spaces, that's okay. Like on my injured leg, I feel it quite a bit in my foot and ankle, that's all right. Okay, in about another breath. We'll all meet in downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, come to tabletop on all fours. And then we'll come to a seat. So, come to a seat with your legs in front of you. So, we're going to take what is our last balance pose, I suppose. It's not necessarily our last pose where we're going to do some work, but it is a variation of a balance pose. So, boat pose. Now, you're going to let your heels rest on the ground. The bottoms of the feet, that's fine, but heels on the ground at least. Hands come to the backs of the thighs. Sit up tall, lengthen. So in Pilates, they do this exercise very differently. They actually want a rounded spine. They want like a cat pose. That's a little different. We want a neutral spine. So we want everything to stay tall and long. We just lean back. I always think like you're wearing a back brace or like you're wearing a corset. You don't have the ability to move and flex and extend. So everything stays tall and long. You just lean back. You create space between your thighs and your belly. Your abs should be working here. Mine are working actually really hard just to maintain this. So you could stay, or you can lift your feet up off the ground. When you lift your feet up off the ground, they are together for stability. They are flexed to protect the knees, and lift them up to at least the height of your knees. So your shins are parallel with the floor. They make an equal sign. Now, you can lift the chest, broaden through the collarbones, relax the shoulders. Let's take 3 deep breaths here, working through your abs. Feel the work in your belly, not your throat, neck, or jaw, especially these movements. Sometimes we feel it here. Take a deep breath, and then slowly let the feet come down. Now you can bring your hands behind you and let your knees sway from side to side. Loosen up any tension in the abs. Let your legs go to each side one more time. And we're going to do that again. We're just going to do it one more time. So, heels on the ground. Again, bottoms of the feet can start fine. That's fine too, but we need something on the ground. Hands to the backs of the thighs. Sit up tall. Broaden through the collarbones. We want to keep the torso just like this. It just hinges at the hips. So it's not a spinal action. It's happening all the way down at your hips. Okay, so you lean back. You maybe even straighten your arms. You might keep the feet on the ground. You might lift your feet up off the ground. If you do that, feet together, flexed and lifted. Lift your chest, broaden your collarbones, relax your shoulders. Feel the work in your torso, not your throat, neck, jaw, or shoulders, or lower back. Now you can stay here, or you can release your arms. Now for me, again, just because you can do it doesn't mean you have to. When I release, I feel my hip flexors take on the work, and that's not what we want. So you might keep your hands at the backs of your thighs. If you do that, just don't squeeze the backs of your thighs. That's not helping the pose. So lift the feet up, flexed, lift the chest, broaden the collarbones, take 3 breaths, Navasana boat pose. Feel the work in your abs. Relax your throat, neck, and jaw. Relax your shoulders, arms, and hands. Stay strong and with it for 1 more breath. Let the feet come down. Bring the hands down. Let the knees sway. So anytime you're lifting more of your body away from the floor, you are balancing. So it's easy to be here, right? You've got a lot on the floor, but when you lift up your arms and you lift up your feet, now you're balancing. So that is a balance pose. It just feels very different. Let your legs go to each side 1 more time. Okay, and we're gonna come onto our backs. I am going to, again, support under the back of my head, but that is optional. We're gonna come back to those toe taps, and then we're gonna stretch. So we've got just a little bit more work. All right. So I would suggest for you to have your arms either alongside your body or out in opposite directions. I'm gonna have my arms out only because I want you to be able to see my spine. But if I were practicing this, either one is fine. I just want you to be able to see. Okay, so everything's pretty much in neutral. So inhale, lift the ribs up towards the ceiling, create a space between your lower back and the floor. You should be able to stick your hand under there. You don't have to, but theoretically, if you wanted to, you could. And then exhale, draw the ribs down, belly down, low back into the floor, contract your abs. Now we're gonna hold that position, but keep breathing. So your breath is still smooth, fluid, and controlled, but the movement in your torso stays still. Belly down, ribs down, spine down. You can't even put a piece of paper between your lower back and the floor. Now, option 1 is where we started. Just lift 1 foot, lower it, lift the other foot, lower it. Or lift your right foot, let it hold, right knee bent, push the ribs down, lift the left foot up. Now, especially when you've got both feet up, you've got to really draw the ribs down and in. Make sure there's no space there.
Okay, we're gonna do what we did before. Left leg will still stay where it's at. Right leg will lower, tap the floor, bring it back up. Left leg lower, heel taps the floor, bring it back up. 3 more each side. Now make sure the lower the foot comes, the more you are drawing your ribs into the floor. When your foot comes down, that's where you're really gonna wanna lift. So you've got to contract. When I'm at the bottom, I don't know if you can see it, but my abs are shaking. That's what we want. Do 1 more on each side. Lower, let the heel tap or hover. Bring it back up. Left leg, let it lower, tap or hover. Bring it back up, and then relax the right and relax the left. You can let your knees sway. So sometimes when people are new to more challenging poses or new to like fitness and harder, more challenging things, they're not sure when something is shaking. Should they keep going? Is that a bad thing? Shaking is fine, especially when it's like your legs or your abs or your arms, really. Shaking like that is okay if it's because the muscle is working. If we were working our abs and my arms started to shake or my neck started to feel like it was twitching, that's different. But if your abs are working and then they start shaking, or you're doing squats or chair pose and your legs are working and then the tops of your thighs start to shake, that's okay. That means that that muscle is working hard. That's totally fine. What we're avoiding is joint issues. So something in the knees, something in the hips, something in like a tweaky feeling in like your lower back. Those are not okay. Shaking is okay. We're gonna keep going. Okay. So this will be our last one. Inhale, let the ribs lift up. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. This time I do want everyone to bring their arms out in opposite directions, palms down. Okay, if it's uncomfortable, they can sort of be at a diagonal, but a wider base is better for this one because we're changing the movement. We're not just coming forward and back, we're now gonna go side to side. So you want a long, wide, stable base. Okay, inhale, let the ribs lift. Exhale, draw the ribs down. Hold the movement, but don't hold the breath. Ribs are down, abs are contracted, wrinkle in the front of the shirt, da-da-da-da-da, you know, broken record, but it's important. Throat, neck, and jaw are relaxed, shoulders and arms are relaxed. Palms might push into the floor here, that's all right. Okay, lift the right leg up, lift the left leg up. Now I like to bring feet together. Knees might not touch, that's okay, but feet should stay together. Knees stay at a right angle, push the ribs down. Now here, this is gonna be the most challenging thing we've done. You could stay with that last movement, that's okay. But after this we stretch, we're almost done. So inhale, exhale, inhale, let your legs fall halfway over to the right to about a 45-degree angle, no lower, because then that's too much. Exhale, return back to the center. Draw the ribs down. Inhale, fall halfway over to the other side, and then exhale, bring it back up. Draw the ribs down. Now as you keep going, your knees are gonna end up coming in towards your chest. That makes this way too easy. Your knees should stack over your thighs, should stack over your hips. Your thighs are a vertical line, perpendicular to the floor. Draw the ribs down, create that wrinkle. Inhale, fall halfway over to about a 45-degree angle to one side. Exhale, return it back. Draw the ribs down. Inhale, fall halfway over. Exhale, bring it back up. 3 more each side. Keep the feet together. Knees might be together too, that's okay. But they don't have to. Keep drawing the ribs down. Every time you come back to the center, keep drawing the ribs down into the floor. We've got 2 more. Relax your shoulders, your throat, neck, and jaw. You should only feel this in your abs, not your back, not your throat, neck, or jaw. Do 1 more each side. Ribs down, contract the abs. Allow the legs to float and lift because abs are strong and engaged. Next time you slowly come back to the center, slowly let the right foot come down and then the left, and let your ribs move in any way you want. So for those of you who are doing a lot of home practice on your own, the next option, which we didn't have time to do, it's also very challenging, is to do this with long legs Instead of knees bent, it's to lengthen the legs and do the same movement. So if you come back to this video a second time and you think, you know what, that wasn't hard enough, which good for you. If that wasn't hard enough, you can always lengthen the legs or do this on your own, lengthen the legs. That's sort of the next progression. But your abs should be feeling it certainly by now. I would hope so. Okay, now we're gonna stretch because they were probably feeling it. So arms out in opposite directions, palms facing up because we are relaxing. And just like before, let the knees sway side to side. We're coming back to a movement that takes almost no effort, no work, should really be comfortable. And whatever pace you're moving at, slow it down by at least 25%. Because we're now past the part of class where the intention is to work. We're now resting. So allow yourself to rest. Even though we're moving, it is a restful, slow, soft movement. Now the next time your legs fall over to the left, let them stay. You might scoot your hips over to the right. You might take a different leg variation. You're welcome to do anything that makes this pose really comfortable. So you might turn your neck to look over your right shoulder. And again, you might take a different leg variation. But staying right here is perfectly fine. And then just let yourself rest. So we're taking a twist not only because it should feel good and is a space where you can calm down and quiet down, but also we are twisting the spine. We're lengthening our abdominal muscles and our lower back. So any of those muscles that we're just tightening and shortening and contracting and working really hard, they need the balance of the work and the rest. So now they can rest, now they can lengthen. We're bringing them closer back to neutral. Take 3 breaths here. If your head is turned, slowly return your head back to the center. Slowly return your legs back to the center. If you moved your hips over, return them to the center. Take a deep breath. And then again, let your knees sway side to side at that slower pace, that more relaxed, easy pace where you recognize you're not in a hurry. You're not in a rush. Just let your legs move. And because there is no hurry, there is no rush, whenever you feel ready, let your legs fall to the right. You might scoot your hips to the left, but let your legs fall to the right. Let them stay. The knees and feet are welcome to stay stacked, or maybe you take a different leg variation, but this is perfectly fine. You might turn at your neck to look over your left shoulder. And then relax. Allow everything to relax and release, softening the muscles, taking tension off of the joints, relaxing the breath. Three more breaths. If your head is turned, slowly return your head to the center. Slowly return your legs to the center. Everything back to neutral, back to symmetry. Notice how you feel. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, hug your knees into your chest. You can rock side to side, or maybe take a happy baby. Maybe point and flex your feet, ankle circles, whatever feels best. 1 or 2 more breaths wherever you'd like to be. And we'll come into Shavasana. So Shavasana is our final resting pose. In this pose, you either come to constructive resting pose, knees bent, feet flat, or legs along the mat, which is more traditional. If this bothers your lower back, if you feel like it creates this big space between your lower back and the floor, maybe put a towel, a blanket, pillows, whatever, under the backs of your knees so that if your knees lift up, your lower back comes down a little bit more. But if this is fine on your lower back, you don't need anything. You just lengthen your arms alongside the body with the palms facing up. So you find a comfortable position to be on your back, whether that means knees bent or legs long. I'm going to come up to a seat, but you can stay on your back. And you settle in. You take a pose that feels really good, where you can relax. Where the back side of your body feels like it is being supported and hugged by the floor, by the earth beneath you. You surrender to gravity. You allow gravity to do its job. You let your body relax. Even though your body was working pretty hard in this practice and you had to focus and concentrate and work and think and exert, and maybe you were shaking, that was okay in those moments, but now we are resting. You rest, you relax, you soften. You are completely at ease.
Deepen your breath. And as you deepen your breath, create soft movements throughout your body. Allow your head to rock side to side. Your thumbs to run over the rest of your fingers and wiggle your toes. Roll your wrists and ankles. Move your arms and legs. You can reach your arms overhead, stretching as if you just woke up from a long nap. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, hug your knees in towards your chest. And slowly roll over onto either side in a tucked fetal position, resting your ear on your arm to support your head and neck. Keeping your eyes closed and using the strength of both arms, push down into the ground and come up to a comfortable seat. Take a moment here to thank yourself for making it to your mat today, and maybe reflect on your intention. Loka samasta sukhi no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may the thoughts, words, and actions of my life contribute in some way to the happiness and freedom for all. Now slowly join your hands together in front of your heart in Anjali Mudra. To seal our practice, we'll chant the sound of Om one time. You're welcome to join me or just listen, but Om is the oldest and most sacred mantra. It unites all of us together. So let's start with a deep and clearing breath. Inhale for Om. The light or the good in me acknowledges, respects, and bows to the light or the good in you. Namaste. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.